Welcome to another native DNA video on the Mestizo population from Havana, Cuba. In this video I have loaded up 8 allelic pairs, or 8 loci containing 2 alleles each for a total of 16 values. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to interrogate this population a little bit and learn a little bit about it. See what we can find here. So if you'll take a look at the results, if you were to think just without having these results in front of you, what would you say the Cuban Mestizo, what would their Native American origins be for a Cuban Mestizo population? Well, you might think that they would be related to the Mexican or Central American Native Americans, in which case you can see that you'd be correct in that assumption. There's Mayan Native American from Mexico. Of course, you can picture that in your mind, or if you have you can consult a world map or a Central American region map. And you can see that the Yucatan Peninsula comes very near to the western tip of Cuba. And the Yucatan Channel is really the only thing that separates. It's about 150 miles wide, that really separates the western tip of Cuba from the Yucatan portion of Mexico. Excuse me. And it is definitely likely, as per evidence from DNA and archaeology and some other things, that there were Mayan Native Americans that crossed that channel and went into Cuba and then up into Florida, into peninsular Florida. But also, if you'll take a look here, there's some Pima that's mixed in. That's probably also associated with the Mayan connection. But there's also Ecuador. And that's very interesting because a lot of the Greater Antilles Native Americans, or the folks from the Greater Antilles, Cuba, the Dominica, Haiti, all that area, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico, the Greater Antilles stretch there. There's lots of oral tradition of Taino or Arawak Native Americans. Taino and Arawak are synonymous. They're tantamount. They're one tribe, one group of people. And just two different names. There's lots of history of the Taino people settling that area. That's a fact. And so this further lends support to that. I think, given that a lot of the Taino ancestry, Arawak ancestry, came from northern South America and in and around Colombia, the Andes portion of Colombia. I think there's one history, oral tradition, or some archaeological evidence leading back to that region, the Andes portion of northwestern South America, Ecuador, Colombia, and all that. And also some from the Orinoco River Valley, some of the Brazilian watershed basin portion of South America, northwest Brazil, Venezuela, the Orinoco River Valley, that region as well. So this Ecuadorian match would lend strong support to that. So you can see you've got two things going on here, two big things with the Native American portion of the Mestizo ancestry from Cuba. Again, this is the Cuban Mestizo population, so we're going to have some white ancestry, some European ancestry as well, and we'll discuss that in a moment. But as far as Native American goes, you can see Mayan Native Americans, Mexico, number one, and then moving down, you have some Pima, which is going to be contributing to the Mayan portion. They're going to be associated, probably more like the Mayan contributed to the Pima. And so that the Pima ancestry is registering back with that Mayan hit. Okay, and we have some Tuscany, Italy. That would come from that Caribbean region, from the Mediterranean region of Europe, which we know the conquistadors came from and had lots of ancestry that would tie back to this Italian, this Tuscany match here via the Mediterranean Sea, and the shipfarers and the ship-going folks that would travel throughout that region. Okay, so also the Ecuador, which we mentioned. Now moving down, so these are the two primary matches here for the the Native American portion of the Mestizo ancestry from Cuba. Now going down, you can see some Basque. This would be associated again with that Iberian Peninsula, that whole idea, that whole construct of the Iberian portion of the Spanish heritage. That would go back to that. In Caucasian Australia, this would go back to like Northwestern Europeans and the Scotch-Irish region, United Kingdom, that area. Some people actually from the United States, I see this in our business all the time here at Native DNA. Lots of folks from the U.S., you may have received in your matches from us or from another DNA testing company a match from Caucasians from Australia. And I have a hypothesis what this could be from is, many generations ago, a large group of Northwestern Europeans from the United Kingdom left, as you know, and went to Australia, which was at one time a penal colony. So it was an island, a confine for prisoners, in which they were kept constricted in there in Australia. And so you had this influx of very unmixed, relatively unmixed Northwestern European DNA that went to Australia, and they settled there, where a large portion of the Australian genome still is today, is that Northwestern European United Kingdom admixture. And so when someone from the U.S. receives a match from that, oftentimes they'll receive that match over modern day Northwestern Europeans from the United Kingdom. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that the United Kingdom has probably become more admixed in recent generations, recent decades. And so the sample from the Caucasians in Australia is going to be more similar to what the Northwestern Europeans used to be, if you can follow me here. And so more consistent with what many modern day United States United States and Brits and Scots and Welsh people would have today, Irish, is because the admixture has changed just a little bit in recent times with the United Kingdom people of today. But you go back many generations, and the Caucasians from Australia are probably more similar to our current United States admixture of Scots and of the like. That's my hypothesis. Now, whether or not that's could be verified scientifically, I've never tried, but I think it's very possible. Okay, and so going down through a little bit further, we'll interrogate this just a little further. Salish Native Americans. This would more than likely be northwestern South America and part Mexican as well. Let me explain. So the Salish Native Americans from British Columbia, Canada, show a very strong affinity when you look at their DNA and do a reverse allele lookup or search. You can see that a lot of the Salishan genome strikes a real chord with Mexican Native Americans from central Mexican highlands, and also from northwestern Europe, or excuse me, northwestern South America, like Ecuador and Peru, and Bolivia as well. You have Aymara matches from Bolivia, the Quechua from Ecuador, and the like. So central Mexico and also from the Andes Mountains region. This population right here, Salish, really strikes a similarity to those group of people. Okay, so that's why that's appearing here. At Yavapai, they're very closely related to the Navajo genetically, and so this also shows that there's that north to south migration that occurred, as I was just speaking about prior. And then there's Navajo itself. And going on down, a lot more of the same. There's Nahua Octocpan from around the Mexico City area. And so that's a basic explanation of the Cuban Mestizo population from Havana I found this population. We'll go back over. Unfortunately, it only has or contains 8 loci, allelic pairs, 8 allelic pairs from 8 different loci. But it still, in my opinion, contains enough genetic information to give us a feel for the genetic makeup of the mestizos from Havana, Cuba. I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. And as always, please like and provide some comments concerning anything you may have, questions, comments, and like this video and share it around. We sure appreciate it, and you can find us anytime available for purchasing of our DNA tests and for inquiries and all kinds of other goodies and information at native-dna.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. So we sure appreciate your time, and y'all take care. Bye-bye.